In Antarctica, researchers are drilling holes in the ice to see how much it's melting due to global warming. Suddenly the ice breaks and spreads, causing the drill to sink. Jason, who was operating the equipment, barely manages to escape, but Jack and Frank help him. Jack risks himself to get the samples, jumping over the crack. As soon as he grabs them and jumps back, the ice breaks beneath him and he holds on using his ice axe. Jason and Frank pull him to safety, but they realize the crack extends for hundreds of kilometers. After that, Jack goes to the UN to show world leaders what he discovered. He warns that global warming is causing polar ice to melt, and this could trigger another ice age, like the one that happened 10,000 years ago. The leaders are confused because global warming and an ice age seem like different problems. Jack then explains his theory. Global warming could cause ocean currents to stop, causing a sudden ice age, perhaps in hundreds or even thousands of years. But the leaders don't really believe it, because fighting global warming could harm their country's economies. In New Delhi, snow falls for the first time, leaving all residents surprised. After a meeting about global warming, Jack meets Terry, a scientist who studies oceans, to discuss his theory at a research center in Scotland. A young man says the temperature has dropped drastically, but the employee doesn't pay attention, thinking it's an error, even after Terry arrives. Meanwhile, in Japan, huge hail falls during a storm, frightening local residents. The hail, besides being large, came so strong that it ends up injuring and killing people. Hey, what would you do if you knew that in 48 hours there's going to be a frost so strong that if you leave home, you die instantly? The movie I'm going to summarize is called The Day After Tomorrow. It's a very good movie that mixes action, adventure, fiction, and suspense. Even though the movie is from 2004, I highly recommend watching it. That's why I invite you to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave a like to receive the best recaps. In the United States, Jack's wife, who is Dr. Lucy, says that her son Sam is going to New York to participate in a math competition. Jack takes Sam to the airport, but they argue on the way. Sam gets on the plane without saying goodbye. Meanwhile, astronauts at the International Space Station see large storm systems forming on Earth, showing that something bad is going to happen. In New York, Sam is traveling with his friend Brian and Laura, the girl he's interested in. During the flight, Jack gets increasingly nervous because he's afraid of flying. Suddenly, the plane enters a very strong storm, shaking a lot. When the storm finally ends, Jack realizes he's holding Laura's hand tightly. He lets go embarrassed, but fortunately, no one got hurt. After that, Terry looks at the data and finds more worrying things. Earth's temperatures are dropping very quickly. In New York, Sam and his friends run to get to the competition and notice that birds are fleeing and zoo animals are acting very strangely. Even wolves are trying to escape. Sam and his friends do well in the competition, but Sam gets bothered when Laura starts paying attention to JD, a boy from another school. JD later invites Laura to see his school and she accepts, which upsets Sam. That night, Terry calls Jack to talk about the data. Jack's theory is proving true. They're seeing the first signs of the Ice Age. Jack is scared because he thought this would take hundreds of years to happen. Terry says that only the research model from the company Jack works for can predict what will happen. In Los Angeles, enormous hurricanes begin destroying the city. A man who works with weather forecasting is having an intimate moment with his girlfriend when a reporter calls him. The reporter tells him that giant ice stones are falling in Los Angeles. The man realizes the tornado is getting bigger very quickly and runs to warn his boss, who is sleeping. The boss comes out and sees the giant tornado with his own eyes. Later, Jack and his team watch the news while the tornado destroys Los Angeles. The vice president warns the president, who orders all flights stopped. But it's too late. 2 planes crash, leaving Sam and his friends stranded far from home, since they can't return. Jack explains his theory to the people who work with him. At first, they don't believe him, but Terry's discoveries match exactly what Jack had predicted. He warns that the worst is yet to come, and his team, including Frank, Jason, and Janet, who is a NASA meteorologist sent to understand the case, begins to believe him. Tom, Jack's boss, finally lets him use more advanced equipment to confirm his predictions. The team works non-stop and discovers that an ice age will begin in 6 to 8 weeks. Jack calls Sam, asking him to return home immediately, and since there's no way to return by plane, asks him to return by train. JD offers his house as a safe place for the group to stay. Later, Jack and Tom try to show their discoveries to the vice president, but he doesn't take the dangers seriously. Jack insists they need to evacuate everyone from the cities, especially from the northern part of the country, and send them south. But the vice president continues not believing. In New York, Sam and his friends visit a museum where they see a mammoth that was preserved with undigested food in its stomach, which froze instantly in the last ice age. Meanwhile, helicopters sent to rescue the British royal family encounter very strong freezing winds. The propellers freeze in the air, causing the helicopters to crash. The surviving pilot gets out and dies, frozen instantly. Terry sends this data to Jack, who discovers hurricanes forming on land, something that had never happened before. Meanwhile, in New York, enormous floods are taking over the city. Luckily, Sam and his friends are safe in J.D. S mansion. But JD starts worrying about his brother, and everyone decides to go look for him. When they go out, they realize they can't walk through the floodwater that's rising. Even so, Sam insists on going home. At the New York Zoo, employees discover that wolves have escaped. Meanwhile, people run to take shelter in a public library, but they don't let a homeless man with his dog enter. Sam and his friends, seeing they can't reach the train station, decide to go to the library. On the way, Laura sees people trapped in a car and runs to help. While helping, she injures her leg underwater but doesn't care about the pain. Suddenly, a giant wave, the size of the Statue of Liberty, comes toward the city. Sam sees Laura still helping other people and runs to her, risking himself. He pulls her to safety, taking her inside the library just in time before the water invades everything. The group goes upstairs while water fills the building. This time, they even let the homeless man enter with his dog. Jack's new model shows that the Ice Age will begin in 10 days, not weeks. He tells Terry to flee, but he accepts his fate, since if he leaves the bunker, he'll die instantly. Terry tells Jack to save as many people as he can. The call drops when the storm gets worse. Then Terry says goodbye with his team, drinking very good whiskey. Jack hears about the destruction in New York and tries to talk to Sam, but the phones aren't working. Sam uses a public phone in the library to call Jack. Jack warns about the storm, explaining that it will freeze everything instantly. He tells Sam to stay inside the building and keep warm, no matter what happens. The rising water cuts the call. Sam swims with difficulty back to the upper floor, but finds Laura, who is relieved that he's okay. Determined to save his son, Jack decides to go to New York, even with Frank trying to stop him. Jack starts gathering supplies for the trip, while his boss Tom suggests he speak directly with the president and convince him to evacuate as many people as possible from the cities. In New York, it starts snowing. People are shocked when they see a huge cargo ship floating through the flooded streets. Jack speaks with the president, explaining that the Ice Age is coming. This time, everyone listens. Jack suggests taking everyone from the southern United States to Mexico. The vice president doubts him, but the president agrees and asks what will happen to people in the north. Jack marks on a map the areas that can still be saved, but admits it's too late for the northern states. If the vice president had listened to Jack, it wouldn't have reached this point. After the meeting, Jack begins his journey to find Sam, while leaders discuss what to do. The president finally decides to follow Jack's plan and orders everyone to leave the cities. In New York, the floodwater has frozen, and people start walking on top of the ice. Inside the library, an argument begins. Most people decide to leave and go south, even with Sam warning them to stay. Only a few listen to Sam and stay inside. Meanwhile, Frank and Jason decide to go with Jack to New York, and they leave together. In Mexico, the border is closed while the country tries to deal with so many Americans arriving. Desperate people start crossing rivers and borders without permission to enter. In the library, Sam and his friends make a fire using books to avoid getting cold. They also break the snack machine to get food. Meanwhile, the US president negotiates with Mexico, promising to forgive all Latin American debts if Mexico opens its borders. Mexico accepts, letting people enter. At the hospital, Lucy discovers that all ambulances have already left. Peter can't leave because he needs a special ambulance. A nurse gets another ambulance, but Lucy decides to stay with Peter, sending the nurse south. Brian sets up an improvised radio and discovers that Europe is covered in snow. He warns Sam that Jack might not be able to make it, but Sam believes his father will come. Meanwhile, Jack and his team use a special GPS for snow to navigate north. When their car gets stuck, they continue on foot from Philadelphia. The people who left the library try to survive in the terrible cold, with many dying because of the bad weather. Jack's group walks not knowing they're on top of the glass roof of a buried building. The glass breaks and Frank falls. Trapped by a rope, he pulls Jack and Jason to the edge. Jack secures himself with an ice axe to avoid falling. Frank, seeing the danger and that the glass roof won't hold, cuts the rope to save them, sacrificing himself. He falls and dies. Now only Jack and Jason continue the journey. Meanwhile, Lucy finally manages to get Peter out of the hospital when the special ambulance arrives. In the library, Laura gets a fever because of the injury to her leg. A woman says it's an infection and warns that they need antibiotics or Laura won't survive. The astronauts at the space station see storms covering half the planet and send the images to Janet. She analyzes the data and discovers the storm will reach New York in 1 hour. Jason faints from cold, so Jack pulls him on a sled. Meanwhile, Sam decides to look for medicine on the cargo ship, with Brian and JD going along. Inside the ship, they find the medicines locked in a room. Sam climbs outside, breaks a window and opens the door from inside. They get the medicine, but Brian insists on getting food too. When they go to the kitchen, the wolves that escaped from the zoo attack. A wolf bites JD, but Sam fights against it, saving his friend. The group hides in a room, unable to get out. Sam has an idea to distract the wolves. He goes out through the window and leads the wolves to another part of the ship, locking them inside. He returns to help Brian and JD, who can't walk. They put JD in a lifeboat and pull him back to the library. While Jack and Jason continue walking, they see the center of the storm approaching, freezing everything it finds. Jack throws Jason into an air vent to protect him before protecting himself too. In the library, Sam and his friends come running back and give the medicine to Laura and feed the fire with books, trying to stay warm while ice takes over the room. Jason wakes up after several hours, and Jack says the worst of the storm is past. They continue the journey, now only 40 miles from Sam. As they walk, Jack and Jason find frozen bodies along the way. They are the same people who fled from the library, unfortunately not managing to reach the south. Jack becomes even more worried. At the embassy, the vice president receives news that the president died, making him become the president of the United States. When Jack and Jason stop to rest, Jack calms Jason, who is very scared, explaining that humanity survived the last ice age and can survive this one too. From space, astronauts warn that the storm is ending, showing lands covered in ice. Jack sees the sun appearing and continues toward New York. They pass by a huge frozen ship and finally reach the city, now covered in snow. The Statue of Liberty is covered in ice. Jack and Jason reach the frozen library, but still intact. Inside, they search and find Sam and the other survivors. Sam runs to Jack, hugging him and thanking him for keeping his promise. Tom warns the president about survivors in northern cities after receiving Jack's radio signal. The president, relieved with the news, sends help immediately. He then speaks to everyone, acknowledging that humanity misused the planet's natural resources without thinking about the consequences. He thanks Mexico for receiving refugees during this crisis and mourns the death of the previous president and all who died in this worldwide disaster. Later, they show Lucy and Peter safe in a southern hospital. Thanks to Lucy, Peter has another chance to fight for his life. Rescue helicopters begin arriving in New York and other northern cities, finding survivors and taking them to safety. Jack, Sam, and the rest of the survivors, including the homeless man and his dog, are rescued by helicopter. Seen from above, you can see that other survivors are trapped on building rooftops, waiting for help. From space, astronauts look at Earth's atmosphere, now cleaner than it has been in centuries. It seems the planet cleaned itself, taking drastic measures to protect itself from humanity's destructive ways. This worldwide disaster serves as a serious warning, an alert for everyone to take care of natural resources and help the planet recover. Earth is our only home, and destroying it is not a smart choice. If humanity goes back to destroying everything and forgets what was learned here, there might not be a second chance. And so the movie ends. What rating would you give this movie? Write in the comments and don't forget to activate the bell to be notified of new summaries. So until next time,